questions on that particular document? Okay, so the next one then that we want to go through is going to be the one that shows us the new positions, and I'm gonna keep one for myself.
Elizabeth, I've got an extra.
Yeah. I do keep one for myself. Okay, I'll come get it. Sorry about that.
Because I had some from yesterday.
Okay, oh, that's right, I did give you some for that yesterday. Okay, so this one pretty much outlines all of the changes or new positions. The first one being the county manager, that was requested to go ahead and develop administration for the county. And the estimated costs are sitting there. The jury commissioner increase, the assessor grade increases, those are negotiated items. Again, I'm going to caution you because they are negotiated and I would prefer not to discuss those in a public session. The clerk, the temporary hires, we have several temporary hires for the Justice Center project move. Those are within the clerk's office and within maintenance to make sure that we can have adequate staffing for that move. That's going to be a big project. And then the increase for overtime in the clerk's office. We have the IT engineer level 3. This is a new position. And so this is the one where that would be offset by the decrease of taking your IT supervisor out, and you would hire a full-time IT engineer who would act as that department's lead. And then we do have that increase for bailiffs. This is an increase in overtime. This is for socially distanced trials, because if they do have trials at the convention center, they're going to have additional bailiffs to provide for security, because that is a much different facility than what we have in the courthouse.
Do bailiffs have to be deputized?
I believe they have to be category 3, post-certified.
And so you couldn't just pick somebody off the street or advertise?
I think Scott would be the best to answer that.
you can.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is you can have a bailiff is a category 3, you can have a court security officer, which has to be a category 1. But you can't just take a random person off the street and make them a security guard for the courts. The custodian, that is a new position. Bill did just get me some information this morning, because there was a request to look at what it might look like if we went ahead and we outsourced that, as opposed to hiring a new custodian. So the cost to hire a new custodian is $53,085. The quote that Bill did receive after, and this is for the courthouse only, would be based on cleaning the facility 3 times a week, and that came out to $42,432. But that just included routine cleaning. It didn't include any type of deep cleaning. So you would probably have to arrange for that at least a couple times a year. Bill, are you here?
Yeah, windows, carpet, shampooing,
That type
cleaning
of
grout
thing.
and tiles, those kind of things.
So Bill thought an estimate on that might be an additional $5,000, so you're looking at $47,000 versus $53,000. Now, remember that, you do have your custodians who do other things in addition, like when it snows out, that's part of what the custodians do, is help clear those walkways early in the morning before staff comes in. That would be something that your contract would cover. So there's, you do save some money, but there are some give and takes on that. Okay, so.
Yes, and currently, our courthouse as it is gets cleaned 5 days a week. The number presented was for 3 times a week
On the contract.
on the contract, correct?
They did,
53,000 is 5 days a week, right?
Yeah, we would, just like we schedule now, correct?
so yeah, they did provide, so it's like $53.17 a month to do 5 days a week, which is $63,000. So if you wanted to do apples to apples of cleaning it 5 days a week, you would have $63,000 for your contract service, and you would have $53,000 for your custodian full-time.
Should we discuss that now, or wait till we go further into the budget?
There's nothing that prevents us as the agenda item is worded as on discussing anything as we go.
Okay, and just because I want to discuss it, I'm all about keeping full-time custodians, and if we kind of decide here that we'd go with the custodian or the contract, we can kind of eliminate more discussions down the road. Listening to the numbers, the snow removal and the other stuff that goes involved, the 3 days a week as opposed to the 5 days a week, I think as a board, as one member of the board, I think we're way better off having our thumbs on the employee, having a full-time maintenance employee or custodian, as opposed to, let's say it snows, and it does snow here, and we have to go out and hire somebody to do that, so, you're looking at the dollars here, we're way, listening to the discussion, I think we're way better off and staying with the, hiring a custodian as opposed to going out to contract services. And if we kind of gave a direction to the finance director, that's kind of, or the maintenance guy, that's the kind of the way I'd like to go. If one of the other commissioners would like to have some input, we can kind of put this to bed. Does somebody else have something they'd like to add about the preference of a contract as opposed to hiring a custodian?
It's always less expensive to contract, almost always. But having somebody on staff, and that is their only job and their only care in the world, is to make sure that that is done well, has a lot of positives. And
Yeah,
it's not a huge price difference.
Yeah, it kind of looks like sixes either way, so, I think it's worthwhile looking into, but it looks like the employee would better fit what we're looking for, being the cost is the same.
Yeah. Or you got a comment there? I think we've all said something.
Bill, how much of a difference do you think even the every other day, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
It probably wouldn't make a huge difference on the overall cleaning. What is nice is if you have, Elizabeth and I talked about, you have a jury trial, then we're there every day, maybe twice a day sometimes, so we would lose that flexibility. And then I don't know about James, if he would have concerns with staff in those offices cleaning. They're also, that can be kind of sticky sometimes. If you have a contract employee that you're not, as opposed to a full-time, do you want them in your office, going around the desk, doing their thing, or is that, I don't know. I mean, it's never been an issue, because we always have our own employees, but it could be with contract.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that helps.
With that being said, Elizabeth, I think you should move forward with just let's move forward with the hiring of a custodian. And then we can kind of put to bed the contract thing. We've got other stuff to discuss, but I'm glad we did it this way. Okay?
Okay. And then the maintenance worker senior, this is a new position. Now, as my note says on this particular item, is that what it's gonna cost you next year is $45,886. That's because you have a maintenance worker senior who is budgeted for the duration of the Justice Center project. So all I'm adding to that is what it is for the rest of the year once we anticipate the Justice Center project is complete. The annual amount beyond the end of the full, of the Justice Center project, so when we hit FY '23, what does that position actually cost? That's $67,745. So basically, this year, we're just adding another 3/4 of a year because that Justice Center project senior maintenance worker is gonna carry us through to sometime in late October. But then you add a full-time year-round, it's the $67,745, and that's down on the notes there for you. And then we had Parks temporary hires. There was an increase requested. Of course, Bill's talked about how he's having trouble going ahead and hiring temporaries. He has reached out and is trying to work on quotes for outsourcing that, but he hasn't received data back yet. So, and we just had that conversation yesterday. And so he is pursuing that, and we'll let you know what we find out about that.
The increase in hours was if the position, the maintenance position was not filled. So that's.
So the increase in parks is only if the maintenance worker senior is not filled.
That is correct.
Okay. Sorry, don't take shorthand. Okay, then in the indigent fund, we have a .75, new position, and so that cost is 37,000. And I'm gonna look at that number one more time. Desi has requested that I go ahead and reevaluate that, position and the amount. I have not seen the formal paperwork from the, state yet saying that they're gonna fund this position, because remember, part of this position is to help with data entry and public health, which is really critical at this point, as we continue with the vaccination process. And I had a conversation with Desi about what that's gonna look like after we get this initial vaccination done. Is this something that has to be done annually, so the people who are being vaccinated, you know, early now, will they have to get another update annually? And so do we need to continue to collect this data? And the preliminary answer without having the final from the state is yes and yes. So we will require updates and we will require data tracking. So this state funding would cover 4 hours of the 6-hour position all the way through to June 30th of 2022. So basically what would be coming out of the indigent fund would just be 2 hours of that, but we won't know that for sure until I see the signed paperwork from the state saying, yes, they're gonna be paying it for that. So that's why I have 100% of it in the indigent fund at this time.
And Elizabeth, refresh my memory, did she also say that even if it doesn't, that she still has money in her fund balance that will cover this?
Yes.
She does.
She does.
That's what I
A
thought.
significant amount.
Yes, she does, she's got big budget.
Fund balance, yeah.
Yes, she has a big
Fund balance.
fund balance. One of the things that I have to do, and I'll just segue onto that since we're talking about the indigent fund, is you know that NRS requires that we budget a 4.5% increase for the indigent budget annually, regardless of need. And so when we went ahead and I did that analysis, we didn't meet that minimum required increase. So I talked to Desi and we did add the necessary funds, I believe it was just slightly over $100,000 into her budget. And we put it into capital improvement. The reason we did that is we anticipate that we will be moving offices back from the administrative building over to the courthouse, and that there will be upgrades that are going to be needed in order to assist with that transition so that her office has effective space, and she's also able to help with the public health space. So that's where we put that in order to make that budget in compliance with NRS. And then in the assessor technology fund, we have an increase for overtime that was requested by the assessor. And then in the golf fund, we have the request for a new admin assistant. This is it's for the golf advisory board, and they're estimating that there's 8 meetings at $150 per meeting. Was that correct, Bill? I think off the top of my head. Plus the related benefits, Medicare, workers' comp, Social Security, like any of our other board secretaries would be. And so there is one other change that's not on here that I want to let you know about that I omitted putting on here. And that is, you know, we have 2 full-time IT technicians. This year, one of those is paid out of the general fund and the road fund and the assessor technology fund. Half from the general fund and then a quarter each from the assessor tech and the road fund. That project will be finishing up in the road department at the end of this fiscal year, so I have proposed that we take and use half in the general fund, quarter in the assessor tech fund, and then a quarter in the 911 fund, because he will be working on the 911 addressing in the upcoming year. And so it's just shifting how the funding is being provided. It is not changing the position in any way.
Okay.
Okay, so are there any questions on any of the new positions?
I skipped out of the room on the indigent service one and the temporary employee, and as we go forward. And the comment that I have is, because there's such a large fund balance in that department, have to increase that department by a certain amount, what is the percentage, 4% every year?
4.5.
4.5%, where that 4.5% could be used in our budget in a lot of different ways. And there's got, I don't know what the avenue would be, but to continue to go 4.5% to a budget that's way over, they got way a lot of money, and maybe squeeze out someplace else. I think that 4.5% needs to be addressed at the state level or wherever we have to do that. We can always, if we can eliminate that 4.5% to that major budget, and we can use it else, you know, that's 4.5%. We can utilize that money in other places. I mean, I really feel that's appropriate, because I think the 4.5% on top of what $1 million excess every single year is just almost crazy.
I'd like to say that I did have a conversation with Senator Goycochino last fall when he was looking for ideas for BDRs, and say that, you know, we really need to look at this. Is this necessary? Is there some way? But it is in NRS, so unless there is a legislative change, there's nothing we can do about that. And I can see how this might be an issue for larger jurisdictions, but I know much of the NRS is built around, you know, counties with 700,000 or more, or 100,000 or more, and 100,000 or less. There's different regulations. So perhaps I believe it probably is too late to get anything into a BDR at this point, but perhaps we can really aggressively pursue that during the 2023 legislative session.
Okay, it's just a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have talked about that, but I haven't gotten any headway yet. Okay, and so then we have the two other reports, which you really don't want me to go through point by point, because they are long reports and they provide you with all of the information that was requested. I want to just go over a few things that I have done that you need to be aware of. There are two more budgets that I'm going to be providing to you. Both of them are grant budgets, and the only thing I budget in there are those wages and benefits that we have for positions. Otherwise, they're automatic augmentations. But if I want to show you the positions, I want to show you where they're being paid for. So you will get a budget for your victim witness services, because you do have an attorney that's paid out of that, and you will get a budget for your emergency management, because you have a portion of your emergency manager and an admin assistant who's paid out of that. So and all those show is, you know, beginning fund balance, wages coming in, wages going out, and ending fund balance. So it's basically just a wash. It's the same, but those will be, I'll have those for you at our next meeting. I believe that you all received a letter from Molly Walt with the RSVP, and I believe this was shared with everybody. This is a request for next year's budget, and they're asking for $14,408 out of the indigent budget. I don't know if Desi is on and she wants to address that.
You on the phone, Desi? Yes, not.
Okay, so I'll work with her to see if we've got that complete total amount in there, or if she has any problems. I didn't know if the commission had any feedback on that. As we've discussed, this is one budget that does, you know, have to go up annually, but making sure that this is worked in or not would be up to Desi. I don't necessarily work those numbers in on behalf of the department head without their permission. Okay, and then I want to say that in Fund 65, I have added an estimate for insurance, because if you remember, Fund 65, the Regional Transportation Commission is buying and purchasing their own equipment in their own name. And so So, instead of, going ahead and, us paying for that out of our county's general fund, it should be charged appropriately into, their fund. At this point, I have just put in an estimate of $500. Once I have those actual numbers back, I'll adjust that, or at least some updated information from what our renewal is gonna look like. Okay? And then there are a couple of other things that are not in the budget that I had wanted to discuss with you. One of them being, the move, of the JAV system for the Justice Court. They have their system right now, which can be moved over there, but I'd like to get that upgraded so that our systems are all the same over there. And that would be an estimated $27,000. So I'm going to request that we put in the Justice Court equipment over $5,000 line item for $27,000, so that when we do move, that their equipment will be on standard with all of the other equipment that's over there. And I will work with Judge Bishop to see if he has any funds available that he can help offset that $27,000. But I think that's important. As I've been working with JAVS over the past several weeks, this is one of the things we've discussed. And because of the different size courtrooms and the need for sound suppression and integration into the data closet, because all of our, instead of having the recording systems in each courtroom, which is less secure, it will be in one data closet and run back there so that there is limited access to those.
I have a question about that, Elizabeth.
Yes.
We haven't really talked about this. And it's been, we've tried to make it work in this situation, but it's my understanding that we're gonna hold county meetings in one of the old courtrooms over there when we make that full transition. Have we put some time and effort into making sure that we have a recording system and a PA system in there?
Okay.
That would make Mr. Chachas and others very happy to have it done right. Microphones for each person, proper speakers in the ceilings that aren't gonna cause feedback. If we're gonna do it, we should probably do that, do it real well.
Okay, so a recording system, a speaker sound system, and probably some type of an ADA assisted listening.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, sometimes if it's just loud enough in the, overheads, that's helpful, but
Okay,
that wouldn't be bad.
okay. I can look at all three of those and see what we can come up with and,
I mean, as far as recording, it could be, if we're gonna upgrade the JAB system, maybe they just leave in place what's already over there, and we use what's there.
okay.
I don't know.
That seems like an overly complicated system, Nicole. Any thoughts on using a JAV system for recording county commission meetings?
Yeah, a job system would work really well as far as that goes. And my staff is already trained to utilize that.
Okay.
So that might save us on having to install the recording side of it. What would be interesting is to look into, so I'm putting my sound guy hat on. I don't see any reason why the microphones that are used to record can't also be piped into use as the PA.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I can definitely take a look at all of that. As you know, right now, we do have some issues with that sound system up in the main courtroom that we're looking at and that we've been putting off because we figured we were moving out of it. So, but we can take a look at that. I definitely can coordinate with Nicole and IT and we can see what we can do about that. So I'll put that on. Okay, any updates, Bill, on when we might know any
What was
more?
that date? I was just thinking, I sent you that email the other day.
Oh,
Was it mid-May that the
That we're
report was gonna be finished?
I thought
And
so.
Yeah, and then we'll have the direction how to proceed with renovations, with the courthouse, and what those cost estimates will be for that. So, I have not had a meeting yet with the department heads and elected officials to discuss that, but perhaps coming up in the next department head meeting, start talking about that. I was kind of waiting to see where the old courthouse sits and what we can do to move forward with that.
As you look at that, just, Travis and I took a trip to the Eureka County Commission, and they redid their commission. Take a look at that. It's really a good system, and the way the sound is through the building, and the way the commissioner chambers is set up, it's, as you're looking at things, that's a really good one. It's new, and it's really nice, the way it's kind of almost U-shaped, but the sound system's perfect. So maybe just take a look at what they've done with their renovation in Eureka. It's really good.
Eureka afford something so nice.
I mean,
They've always had more money.
as we look at the remodeling of the courthouse, that's a really good one.
Okay.
Bill,
Yeah,
you're
no,
gonna
I thought it was.
imitate Eureka.
Notes.
That's it.
Okay.
So he's talking about Lincoln
Okay.
County or Eureka?
Okay, I'm sorry. So there were a few other changes. I did meet with Christy and Bill regarding the aquatic center. There was a concern that we didn't have enough equipment repair and maintenance and enough facility repair and maintenance because the building, instead of being brand new and we, cut the ribbon, is now aging and is requiring repair. So we've upped both of those amounts to $15,000. And there was also, I also had a concern and spoke with her about her bank management fee. And she indicated that, or in talking with Catherine and the way the interest rates are going, we upped that just a few $100s to make sure that she had adequate in that line item. And then she is going to get a list for her capital improvements line item. She said that it was gonna be the same as what it was last year for capital improvements. I think she had like $15,000 in there. And I said, we really need a list, and she goes, it's gonna be the same as last year, and I said, neither one of us could remember what was in last year, so she's gonna get that to you. And then that's pretty much all I have from you. What I'd really like to do is hear back on what you would like me to look at. I've got stuff for the new courthouse, or the renovation of the courthouse on the recording system. Everybody okay up there? We hope. So do you have suggestions, concerns, things you want me to evaluate further? Travis?
Yeah, Elizabeth, just like you did last year and year before that, just that general macro overview of positions and big expenditure items, one-time expenses, and then how all that, and then, the number we'd have to be at 25%, the number we're at now, and then that's just really quick to get to the point to see what we need to do.
And since you're probably gonna use a spreadsheet to make it, maybe just shoot the spreadsheet over once you got it.
Okay.
Assuming you make, I don't know if you make a spreadsheet, because the point is, when we're working on the budget, those are the kind of numbers that the gauges that we're playing.
So what I can do is, what I've been doing is, in order to keep the public up to date, under finance on the budget and financials page, I'm posting things so that, and then I will post that out there so that everybody can take a look at that and let you know it's available for your review.
Perfect.
At the next meeting also, we will have a better idea of where we truly are because we'll have the revenue side of the equation.
Yeah, as long as you have that a few days before the meeting, and I'll look at it.
Like I said, I do have blocked off on my calendar most of Friday because Thursday about 5 p.m. is when I anticipate I should have those revenues from the Department of Taxation, and I will try and get that all compiled so that you will have that well in advance so you can really start getting down to the brass tacks and what you want to do.
Real curious how that's gonna shake out, since the mine took all the depreciation up front last year.
It'll be,
Swipe us with that.
yes.
You can't do that twice, at least.
And I do anticipate this year that we are gonna see some, potentially substantial impacts from legislative changes. But we'll wait and see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
I think the one thing we need to look at based on your